whether it be about leadership or something personal, if you were able to ask your father one question, what would that be now?
Was it worth the risk of making yourself more vulnerable for purposes of advancing the cause, as opposed to saying, well, let it be as it is, let me play safe, not get involved, let things happen as they do, but they might have happened much slower or not happen at all. He was too ambitious in pushing the country forward that he gambled a lot with what would happen to him. And clearly the political crisis did occur, and a revolution did take place that overthrew his regime. Although today a lot of people retrospectively say, what the hell were we thinking? Was it necessary to actually do this in order to achieve change? But this is all retrospective.
What's something more personal about him as a man? He was your father, you know, he was so much more than Iran. You know, like, what is something that you wish you understood about him? That if you could have a moment of candor or honesty with him now, that you don't know?
But I don't know if it's more of a question than a criticism that I would have. And in knowing who he was and what he meant, I think that the level of transparency that he should have had was almost non-existent. If people actually knew why he's doing what he's doing, what is his actual dream, what is his actual ambition, and communicated to a language for the simple person to understand, and not let media interpret it or put sugarcoating it with courtship and what have you, and all that sort of projected no longer being the person as he thought. Because that's really concerned him. I remember the first thing my father would ask in the morning, coming down the elevator to go to his office right after breakfast, was for the night security guard. And he wanted the first report of the day, he wanted to know the amount of rain that had fallen in the country, because he knew how much our agriculture and a lot of things would depend on that. And how many people knew that? They didn't know that. That's not what they saw. And I think that to me is the part that hurts me, is if only people knew why he's doing all of the above, what is his objective, why is he sending so many students to study abroad in the best universities of the world, at the government expense, only to turn against him and come back as revolutionaries and say, you know, I'm educating you so you can run that country one day. Why are you throwing it all away? But he was not communicated enough, and that's, I think, the biggest regret.
This is your father, and he's like such a huge, figure in the country, but also like in your life. And you talk about this distance from him. What are some things that you wish you understood about your father, as a man, as a father?
That's what I'm saying. That he was in some way timid or shy to show his actual face. That he had to almost put a mask, part because of the expectation, but part because a sense of protecting maybe some vulnerability. And I say, I wish he had done just the contrary before being the persona. Say and explain what it is that he was actually thinking. Because if people knew more about that part, maybe the judgment would have been very different. And you know, we lived in an era where communication, PR, everything that in today's day and age people have been accustomed to, social media, influencers, none of that existed 50 years ago. It was a different world. You will listen to the news and you will see the king is now inaugurating this factory or is on a state visit in Europe or whatever. And it was all very, impersonal in the sense of you only saw the title and the role, but not the person. And the way people are understanding more what's behind the face of whoever is doing whatever. It was not existent, and that part was really missing, I think.